Hello, and welcome to Maybe I Can, exploring possibilities one sprinkle at a time. If you've ever found yourself asking, is this all there is to life? Then you're in the right place. I'm Debbie, author, speaker, entrepreneur, and coach. And every Tuesday, I'm here to share a sprinkle of hope and inspiration. Together, we'll uncover the more joy, more fulfillment, more prosperity, more fun. We'll share stories of transformation, actionable tips, and that little nudge you need to take the next step. So let's embark on this journey of discovery and say, maybe I can, to a life filled with more. Ready to find out? Let's get started. The Maybe I Can show starts now. Well, hello, and welcome back, everyone. I am your host, Debbie Weiss, and thank you so much for joining me today. You know, every time that I listen to that intro, I almost do a double take because when I describe myself as an author, a speaker, a coach, I still can't quite believe it. I am still amazed, honestly, with the power that each of us has to change our lives in ways that we never could have imagined. And I've been thinking a lot about this lately because I have just finished the first draft of my second book. Just the fact that I am saying that I wrote a second book is just mind blowing because I was the kind of person who didn't like to write, never liked to write, hated to have to write papers, oh my goodness, that feeling. Remember that feeling when you're in school and they say, oh, you're going to have to write a term paper, or it's this many pages or this many words. And all of a sudden, like I would just, slump my shoulders and think, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I have to do this. And writing that many words or pages was like torture. And you were just writing to just make the minimum, amount that was required. And I was so happy when I graduated from college and I knew I would never have to write another paper again. And for almost 40 years, I never did write anything again until I took the time I started listening and exploring and kind of like following the crumbs or following the dots, not knowing where each decision was going to lead me. And I'm still following the crumbs, right? I guess we all want to be doing that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be still living here on Earth. When it eventually took me to writing a book, I remember thinking, okay, so how do you do that? Do you just open up a notebook and just start writing? Like, is there a certain way, procedure? I don't know anything about how to do this. And I did wind up, taking a 12-week course for first-time authors who wanted to get their story out there. And there was a physical, like, digital course that outlined different types of nonfiction books. I didn't know that what I wanted to write was a memoir compared to a biography. Like, I didn't even know that there was a difference, right? I walked into a world that I knew nothing about, and I struggled. I mean, I really struggled those first couple of months because I couldn't wrap my head around really what I was doing and how I was going to go about doing it. And once I gave into the process, things seemed to flow so much easier. And what I found was that it was so rewarding. It was therapeutic writing my memoir. It was very rewarding. It was also at the time very, I said therapeutic, and I meant therapeutic because just having to put yourself back in a story of your life, a difficult time, and having to feel those emotions again and be so descriptive about everything that was happening, that was what I meant as therapeutic. But I actually wrote my memoir while my husband was dying of cancer. And something that I never intended, I didn't even intend to write a book, certainly not during such a stressful time in my life, but that's what I meant. It wound up to be therapeutic because I was very diligent with carving out time, mostly every day, to sit down and write for a little bit. And that took me out of the hard time that was happening in my life and my family's life, and it was therapeutic in that way. And when I finished that book, I was already thinking about my next book. How did I all of a sudden go from never writing for 40 years, never thinking that I was capable, that I was interested, never knew this side of me existed somewhere deep inside. And it's only been through this decade or so of exploration that I've discovered this. And here I am just finishing the first draft of my second book, and I already know what I want my third book to be about. I mean, it is just so crazy when you open yourself up to exploring different parts of you, what you find and what's in there. With that whole long introduction, that leads me to two different things. One, what we're talking about today, but the second is, let me stick with this whole book thing. So I just, like I said, finished the first draft of my second book. The next step is, for me, I've gotten some edits back from the editor, and I do have to go through them and decide about the changes that I want to make. But when I'm done with that, if you're listening to this in real time, it's May 21st, 2024. On June 3rd, 2024, I plan on handing over the digital manuscript to beta readers. And what beta readers are people who might be interested in this book. And I guess I should tell you what this book is. It's called The Sprinkle Effect: Essential Steps You Need to Take to Begin Transforming Your Life. So if that interests you, it's more, my first book was my memoir, which was more inspirational. This is a little bit more of a how-to guide. And a lot of the things that we've been discussing on the podcast really come from the book. You know, the book is called The Sprinkle Effect. And if you notice, each week when we don't have a guest, I'm talking about another sprinkle, which does coincide with how the book works. So back to the beta readers. So if you're interested, I am looking for people who are willing to read the book. There are activities at the end of each chapter. So, you know, if you'd be willing to take the time to do the activities and then provide feedback. And I have a feedback form, so there's questions that I'll ask of you, but it's not a grammatical thing. It's really more telling me what resonates with you, what doesn't. This part is too long. I don't understand this explanation. Move this part to the over here, and that kind of thing. So if you're interested, you will have the manuscript for 2 weeks from June 3rd to June 17th to read, do the exercises, and then fill out my questionnaire. I would really appreciate, you can DM me the word beta, BETA, on Instagram at debbie.r.weiss, or you can send me an email at debbie@debbierweiss.com, and I will send you the link to sign up. So thank you. Now, that never would have come to be, this book, if I hadn't gone through this transformational process myself. And we've already talked about so many of the things, a sprinkle of mindset and perspective and limiting belief and courage. And last week we talked about hope and figuring out what our dream life looks like, really sitting down and digging deep and thinking to yourself, well, what do I want my life to look like? And actually descriptively writing that out. Today, it's going to be a little bit more hands-on. Today's topic is called a sprinkle of direction. So we know where we are now, and you've figured out your dream life. You know where you want to go. So the question is, how do we get from A, where we are now, to B, where we want to be? And so practically, I've got some practical tools for you to use to try and make your own plan, chart your own course. So let's get into it after all my rambling. All right, so the first thing is to assess where you are now. And we can break that down into several different areas of your life. These are just suggested categories. You can add, change, whatever you want. So to make it simple, we don't need anything fancy. Take a piece of paper, write down these categories again, or whatever categories. So let me give them to you. Career, finances, spirituality, health, your physical environment, your significant other, friends and family, fun and personal growth. And then next column, currently, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself in each of those categories? So for me, friends and family, I'm at an 8. I have wonderful relationships in my life with my friends and my family that are very satisfying. So that's an 8. If I looked at my, let's say, health, I am a 5, maybe a 6, if I'm being honest, which I am, and you need to be as well. Okay, so you do that 1 through 10, pick a number for each of those categories. All right, next column, in your dream life. If you're in your dream life, again, going through those categories, where do you feel, what number do you feel you would need to be living that dream life? So for me, for health, instead of a 5 or a 6, I feel like I need to be at an 8 or a 9. Friends and family, okay, I can go from an 8 to a 9. So now you've got the 2 columns. You see where you are now, and you see where you need to be. Make a third column. What is the gap? So again, in my health, I need to go, let's say, from a 5 to an 8. So I need to jump 3 levels, right? 3 levels from 5 to 8. If I do that for each of those categories, then I can easily look and scan and see which categories are going to require the biggest jump, the biggest amount of growth in order for me to get to that dream life of mine. Now, it could be overwhelming, right? You could look, and I'm looking at mine. Some categories I have a 6, and some categories I have a 1. I actually have a 0 in one of my categories, so I know I don't have to do anything there. Once we see this, now we need to decide, okay, of course, look, none of us is perfect, right? We're all going to find that there are so many areas and so many things in our lives that we want to improve. If we go and we start to do it all at the same time, that ain't working, okay? That is overwhelm 10 times, 10 to the 10th degree. I don't know. It's been a long time since I took math. So let's just pick one or two categories. It's up to you. Maybe you're the kind of person who says, look, I want to start out and make it, a little easy. Let me just pick a category where I only need a little bit of growth. I've got to jump 1 or 2 levels. Maybe I'm going to start out there. Or maybe I want to start out where I have the biggest gap. Either way, we want to make sure that we're very specific in how we're going to get there, how we're going to jump those levels. Now, chances are you've heard of a SMART goal. If you haven't, or if you don't remember what it stands for, SMART is not just a word, it's an acronym. And it stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. All right, that's a lot. Let me give you a few examples, okay? Let's just say that I have a goal of I will own a home by the beach. That used to be a goal. I'm not sure if that's still my goal anymore, but okay, I will own a home at the beach. Is that specific? Well, not. It is, it's a home on the beach, but it's not really specific. Is it measurable? Nope. Achievable? I don't really know. Relevant? Yeah, it's relevant. And time bound? No, I have no idea when I plan on doing this. So if I change that to make it a SMART goal, I could say, I will own a 2,500 square foot home in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware by May 1st, 2027. That's SMART. Specific, measurable, time-bound, attainable, gives me enough time between now and then to get there. See the difference? Let's try another. The first example will be, I'll have enough money to pay off all my debt. Again, a lovely goal, but not SMART. Instead, if we say, I will have paid my debts of $100,000 in full by January 1st, 2026. Get the idea? So you choose what categories that you want to work on and then create a SMART goal. Now, of course, if I say, okay, I will pay off $100,000 worth of debt by January 1st, 2026, that's not really helping me. That's kind of like taking my breath away and giving me heart palpitations just hearing that. So instead of focusing on that big goal, we then need to break it down into small, actionable steps. Let me give you a little example. Years ago, I went to school for accounting and didn't really know what I was going to do. It's like, okay, I'll going to major in accounting. I really didn't know too much about it. Never knew that I was going to be a public accountant. I really actually thought I was going to work for a private corporation, but I wound up graduating and working for a small CPA firm. And it became clear that I needed to actually become a CPA, a certified public accountant. And back then, it's a little different requirement than it is now. The way you did that was by passing the CPA exam, which you still need to do. And it was 4 different parts. And 2 parts had to be passed together initially. And then after that, you could take the other 2 parts and pass them individually. Let me just tell you, if you're not familiar with it, this is one of the hardest certification tests to pass. Everyone used to joke like, oh, the bar exam is basically a joke compared to the CPA exam. Well, when it came time, I said, okay, I'm going to take this test. Let me buy the books or whatever. Maybe it was a couple of years since I had been out of college. So I really did have to reacquaint myself with everything. And I studied, but I got to tell you, I was a good student. I was very book smart and I never had a problem passing a test. And so I thought, yeah, I know they say this is a lot harder, but I'm sure it'll be fine. I'll just do my minimal amount of studying or not even minimal. I mean, for me, I did more studying than usual. Before the test, I started panicking like, oh my gosh, this is a little bit different. Like, how embarrassing if I fail, everybody knows about it. I'm going to have to tell my employer. What happens if they fire me, if I don't pass? And, I remember going into that test thinking, oh, you jerk, you should have spent more time. You should have done this. You should have taken a course, shoulda, shoulda, shoulda. And I take the two parts. And then back then, I don't know how long it takes to grade it nowadays. Then it took months to get the results and you came in the mail, that just like when you get a college acceptance, you're like, heart is pounding. And I opened it up and I passed one part and I failed the other part by 2 points, which meant neither part counted. And I was devastated. Oh, it was, life was over. And once I picked myself back up, I realized, okay, I got to get serious about this. If I am serious about making this happen, I need to make a plan and I need to stick with it. And for me, that was taking a review course that was every Saturday, 8 hours a day, sitting in that classroom. It was torture, especially when you're working full time and now you hardly have any weekends and then you got to study too. So that's the next day. But, I said, I saw what happened when I didn't have a specific plan. And that didn't work out so well. So now I'm going to make sure that I have everything laid out. And the course did that for me as long as you followed their guidelines, which I did. And I'm thankful to say I passed. And then I went on to pass the other two parts and became a CPA. I don't even know how long ago this is now, maybe 35 years ago. But it didn't work when I basically just hoped, wished that it would work, that I've done it before, so I can do it again. No, it was breaking it down into very small, actionable steps. And I'm talking small, like daily tasks, daily little things that you do. One of my favorite practices is now every morning I've got my goal, right? And sometimes I'll have the big goal, like, there's usually like one big thing that I'm working on. And then I break it down into small actionable steps. And it could be as small as like, oh gosh, let's just say when I'm writing my book, let's just say that one actionable step is that today I will write for 20 minutes. Now, 20 minutes doesn't sound like a lot when you've got to write a whole book. But 20 minutes adds up if I take that same step day after day, right? It's breaking it down into small pieces that makes it work. And that's what you need to do. You have to take that ultimate goal and figure out how you're going to break it down into small actionable pieces so that you don't get overwhelmed, and you'll be amazed with the progress that you'll make. It's incredible. And each day you get so much satisfaction over achieving what you've set out to achieve that day. And okay, so maybe today I'm going to do write for 20 minutes. And, I also have to figure out how to promote my book. So maybe I'm going to try and like go on social media and post a video or something like that. And those are my small steps for today that I'm going to take. Now, if I'm also concerned about my health, and, we each have different areas in our health that we're focused on. Let's just say for me, it's drinking water. Then I can also say another small step I'm going to take. If I usually only drink 4 glasses of water, I'm going to drink 5 glasses of water. If I have no idea how much water I drink and that's a goal of mine, then you know what? That's all I'm going to do today is track how much water I drink so that I have a baseline level. And then we've got to stay consistent, right? Because all this is wonderful, but if we don't do it day after day after day, then it won't work. And look, sometimes maybe the steps you're taking, somehow they just don't land right. Those might not be the right steps for you. That's okay. There's nothing set in stone. Now try something else, right? As long as we're always experimenting, trying something, moving forward, and keeping our focus on that goal, you'll be amazed at how different you feel every day, because every day you will be moving yourself one step closer to that dream life of yours. It's out there, and I'm telling you that you can have that life. We can all have that life. We just have to take responsibility and commit to taking action, and it will happen for you. That's what I've got for you for today. Thank you so much for listening. And please, please message me if you want to be a beta reader. Message me and let me know how this landed with you, or how successful you are, or if you having difficulty and have any questions. I'm here for you. Okay? Wonderful. I will see and talk to you next week. Make it a good one. Thanks for spending part of your day with me here on Maybe I Can, exploring possibilities one sprinkle at a time. It's been great having you, and I hope you're leaving with a spark to light up your journey to more. Remember, every big change starts with a single maybe. If you're ready to kickstart that change but not sure where to begin, I've got just the thing for you. Head over to download my free guide, The One Critical Step to Kickstart Change, and take that all-important first step. Let's make those maybes into reality one sprinkle at a time. Catch you next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, with more stories, tips, and that extra push you might need. I'm Debbie saying goodbye for now, but always remember, maybe, just maybe, you can.